guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are here at David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium, bringing you our 2019 Kansas football predictions. And the Jayhawks are one of the most intriguing teams going into 2019, and that is because of the hire they made during the offseason, bringing in former LSU head coach Les Miles to try to come turn around this program that has not been to a bowl game since 2008. And while I do think Les Miles is the perfect fit here in Lawrence, Kansas, I do not think that he will be able to turn the program around in his first year with the Jayhawks. Kansas returns just 5 starters on offense and 5 starters on defense, but offensively, 3 of those starters are on the offensive line, and defensively, 4 of those starters are in their secondary. And we know that LSU under Les Miles always had a very strong defense, but didn't really have the offense going. So maybe they can turn things around this year defensively, but it might take a few years to get there on the offensive side of the ball. We have them kicking off 2019 with a win over Indiana State. But you know that with Kansas, you cannot take any win for granted. You cannot assume that they win any games. A couple of years ago, they went 0-12. So they have been prone to lose to a couple FCS teams, even though they're at home, even though Kansas usually is the better team. Even last year, they fell here at home in overtime to Nichols in their first game of the season. But I do think they take care of business against Indiana State, and I do think they take care of Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt. They could still pull off a couple upsets this year, the Chanticleers could, but I think that Kansas, especially with a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and finally a coach that can light a fire under this team, will be Coastal Carolina. And Les Miles' tenure with the Jayhawks gets off to a 2-0 start, which is really a better start than Kansas had in many recent years. But then the schedule starts to get tough. They go on the road to Boston College, and this game is going to be exciting for many reasons. A lot of people would not have this game circled on their radar, but it's on a Friday night, so that's a very limited football going on there, but it's also a battle of 2 great running backs. And Boston College's A.J. Dillon, one of the best running backs in the ACC, maybe even in the nation, and then Kansas's Pooka Williams, who as a freshman last year rushed for over 1,100 yards. He will be suspended at the beginning of the season, but will be back for this game against Boston College, and you can expect both teams to be run-heavy in this matchup. But it's on the road at Boston College, and I think in the end, Boston College still owns the defensive advantage, and on top of A.J. Dillon, certainly owned the quarterback advantage, bringing in Anthony Brown at quarterback. I blanked on the name there. Kansas will fall to Boston College on the road to kick off Big 12 play in Week 4. Coming back home to face off against West Virginia. And if you look at the schedule, some people have Kansas going 6-6, 5-7, having one of the best years they've had in nearly a decade. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go that far yet, but if they want that, they're going to have to win their home games. Starting here with West Virginia, a team that brings in another brand new head coach in Neil Brown from Troy, and a team that loses a lot of starters like Will Greer at quarterback, David Sills at wide receiver, and to big-name players defensively through either to the NFL draft or through the transfer portal. In the end, though, West Virginia does bring in a solid transfer quarterback themselves in Austin Kendall. They have a solid running back in Kennedy McCoy. I think Neil Brown's the right man for the job, and while I do think the Mountaineers will struggle in 2019, they do have enough offensively to come on the road and beat Kansas, and the Jayhawks drop their second in a row to the Mountaineers. Hopefully our marker will not die on us like our Wisconsin video. On the road against TCU, another Big 12 matchup here, a team that once again will struggle to find themselves a quarterback, much like Kansas will struggle to find themselves a quarterback in 2019. Expect the Jayhawks to be very run-heavy in 2019. But TCU will bounce back this year after a disappointing season last year. Their defense will once again be the strength under Gary Patterson. This game is on the road, and even though Kansas did win here at Memorial Stadium last year, a 27-26 victory for the Jayhawks, they will not be able to beat the Horned Frogs on the road this year. They dropped their 3rd straight, falling to TCU. Of course, we can almost give them an automatic loss here against Oklahoma, although it would not surprise me to see the Jayhawks have a phenomenal performance against the Sooners. Last year, they put up 40 points against Oklahoma. Pooka Williams had himself a great day, and Oklahoma's defense showed a lot of signs of weaknesses. This year at home, maybe Les Miles and the Jayhawks get hyped for this game and give the Sooners quite a bit of fight, who I think might take a tiny step back in production-wise from 2018, but will still be just fine, led by Jalen Hurts and another phenomenal offense with Lincoln Riley as their head coach. I think they fall to Oklahoma, but it could be closer than some expect. They get a bye week, sitting here at 2-4. They're going to desperately need a turnaround, but unfortunately for them, that bye week leads into a game on the road against Texas. Last year, Kansas only fell to the Longhorns by 7 points right here in Lawrence. But this year on the road against Texas, a team that finished the season strong, made the Big 12 championship game, beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, returns a lot of production offensively, including Sam Ehlinger and Colin Johnson. The defense could be an issue, but on the road at Austin, a very difficult place to play. I do not think the Jayhawks are able to win this game against Tom Herman and the Longhorns. They fall to Texas. Back home, though, against Texas Tech, and we once again mentioned that if they want to go bowling or have a decent year, they've got to win these home games. Facing off against Texas Tech and Kansas State, both teams that bring in brand new head coaches. The Red Raiders bring in Matt Wells from Utah State, who did phenomenal things there, had a great season last year, breeded one of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation in Jordan Love. This year, he has another great quarterback in Alan Bowman. The defense should take a step forward under Matt Wells. They couldn't do that under Cliff Kingsbury. I would expect that to be the case under Wells in year one and continue to improve year in and year out. I think Texas Tech, with that offense led by Bowman and a decent running game, as one of the things Matt Wells is known for, comes into Lawrence and beats the Jayhawks once again. Then we have Kansas State to kick off November. They're going to need to win the remaining 4 games to go bowling in 2019. Kansas State, big-time rivalry game. Last year it was close. The Jayhawks only lost to the Wildcats by 4 points. Now the Wildcats bring in Chris Klieman from North Dakota State in the FCS, but he inherits a decent team across the state and Manhattan. He inherits a very solid quarterback in Skylar Thompson and a good defense with 8 returning starters. He's in a much better position than Les Miles is in here in Lawrence, and I think that Kansas State comes on the road and gets to win over their rival between 2 brand new head coaches. And if these 2 guys do stick around, you can guarantee yourself to see some great matches between Les Miles and Chris Klieman, the Jayhawks, and the Wildcats. But Les Miles and his squad fall in year 1. They get their last bye week of the season going into their road game against Oklahoma State. Obviously now they were out of bowl contention, but still have a chance to match last year's win total when the Jayhawks went 3-9. This bye week leads into a game at Oklahoma State, a team once again that's going to have a quarterback question, whether it's going to be Spencer Sanders or Drew Brown. But their running game will be the key. Chuba Hubbard, a very, very talented running back for the Cowboys, and the Kansas defense, rushing defense especially, was not very good last year. I expect those numbers to improve under Les Miles, a more defensive-minded coach, but can he do it in year 1? They will fall to the Cowboys on the road, despite having this week of rest here, and Kansas, once again struggling, might end up having a worse year than they had last year. I can almost guarantee that they will lose on the road to Iowa State. This is an Iowa State team that I think is legit in 2019. I repeatedly said I think they could be the 3rd best team in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma and Texas, and they get to host the Longhorns this year. An upset there could propel them above Texas in the conference standings. Iowa State returns 16 starters. They have Brock Purdy back at quarterback, a great crew of wide receivers. Matt Campbell is building something at Ames. I don't see any way Kansas goes on the road and beats Iowa State. If it was here in Lawrence, maybe they could give them a fight, but not on the road in Ames, one of the most difficult places to play in the entire conference. They then close out the year against Baylor. Once again, another winnable game at home. But Baylor breeding themselves a decent team. One of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 was Charlie Brewer. The defense continues to improve under Matt Rule every single year. Went from 1-11 to 7-6 last year. Could very well win 7 or 8 regular season games in 2019. I think this offense, once again, is too much for Kansas. And the Baylor defense makes a major step forward in 2019 and shuts down Pooka Williams and this Kansas offense. Baylor comes on the road, gets a win here. And Kansas goes just 2-10, winless in Big 12 play in 2019. And I know for a lot of people, this would be a very disappointing season for Les Miles and the Jayhawks. A lot of people have high expectations for him, and the excitement is certainly very high. When you look at the schedule, Kansas could possibly be, as I mentioned, West Virginia, maybe Texas Tech, or even Kansas State. I would actually lean more towards West Virginia or Kansas State. But I think right now, out of the 4 brand new head coaches, Les Miles was dealt the worst hand in terms of the talent that he has coming back and the talent that he inherits here in Lawrence. So give him time, Jayhawks Nation. Give him time, Jayhawks fans. He is the right man for the job. Kansas will be much more competitive in 2019, just not enough to compete in the win totals and improve that win total. But he will sooner rather than later. So guys, as always, thank you for watching us here on YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Gridiron Expert. Go check out our official website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for our newsletter and sign up for our expert picks. For just $30, you will receive every single one of our 2019 college football spread picks, including the postseason. And I can promise you that is a deal you do not want to pass up. So join our team, sign up today only at thegridironexpert.com. And guys, as always, thank you for watching us here on YouTube live from Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.